Hi, my name's Tara, and I'm going to teach you about watercolor painting. And this is a quick tutorial on the basics, and hopefully this will get you started. I'm a teacher, and I teach this in my class, and this is how I go about it. So let's get started. Let's not waste any time here. So I have watercolor paper, and it comes in different forms. You can buy different pads, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be just regular white paper that you put in a printer, but if you can get watercolor paper, I watch for sales. If you can get watercolor paper, it's a little thicker and it helps your painting. It works with the paint really nice. But if you don't have that, I've often used just 8.5 by 11 white paper, but just know that when it's water, it's going to make the paper ripple. So the reason we use watercolor paper is so it doesn't ripple. And when I'm in class with my kids, I actually take the paper and I tape it on. So I tape it here and I tape it here at the bottom so it doesn't move. And if you want to get really professional about it, you'd wet the paper, tape it, and let it dry. That way it stretches and it's ready to paint. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going in my class I taped it onto clipboards, top and bottom, and we left it there till we were totally done. And then when we were done, we took off the tape. Okay, that just keeps it secure and flat when you're adding the water to the paper. I'm not sure where to look. I'm trying to. Okay, so this is our paper, and then you can get, what I tell the kids is you can get lots of sources, like Owl magazine's great, or any kind of magazine, picture, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look exactly like, it just is a inspiration for your picture. Okay, so let's see, I'm just, yeah, there's some animals here. So I'm going to pick an animal. I'm just going to, the first stage is you don't draw really dark because the watercolor painting is really washy. So you want a light pencil, and you only want like an outline. You don't want all the details that you normally put into a sketch. Just the outline, basic outline, so you can see what you're painting, and then everything else gets added in later from light to darker. Okay, so from washy to detailed. So I'm going to pick this owl. Okay, so I'm just going to just for this, I'm just going to quick sketch it. I would take more time. Anyway, so what I tell the kids is don't draw too dark, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a inspiration for your work. You know, if you're like Robert Bateman, you would take your time and he likes to try and make it look realistic. So, okay. So I basically just want to see the outline of my painting, and then I'll add in the details after. You don't want to be erasing too much. You can erase a little bit. I suggest a nice HB pencil and then the eraser on the end, or a really soft eraser, because watercolor paintings or paper is often made of cotton or pressed paper, and it'll ball up if you're erasing it or too much water. So anyways, there's the basic outline. Now if I was to sit here a little longer, I would probably work on those eyes a little bit. I might just around that a little bit. Okay. You don't want to add any other details. I'm not going to put feathers. I'm not going to put, I don't know, just the basics. Details come later. Okay, that's the fun part. So now that we have that, you take your palette, and those bricks are hard, so you need to take your brush and you have to dab on water to each color. Okay, and that way the paint softens up. And you can see on the lid, if you don't have a lid, then some kind of plate or plastic container or anything really that's hard that you can put your colors on and mix. So at school, I don't give white. I don't give the white that's on here. I just give the colors, and then if you want a light color, you add more water. So the more water you add, the lighter it gets. If you want white, you block out that on your page. You leave it white. Or the other thing you can do, which I was looking for, is use like silly putty and put it on there, or cement glue. What's that called? Paper cement, the old school cement that rolls off into like a little ball. You put that on and it keeps the water away, and then when you're done, you roll it off the paper, and then you have a white, clean white space left. So that's what you would do for white. So now that we have the palette wet, okay, that's important. You also need clean water, and you want to keep your water clean. So if you find your water is getting black or murky, you need to change it. So if in the classroom, I'm continually looking at their water, and I'm saying change your water. If it's black or dark, they need to go to the sink, and only a little bit in the cup. They don't need a full cup, and they have to walk slow so you don't spill your water on someone else's art. That would be tragic. Okay. You also need paper towel, and if your brush is dirty, you can wipe it off on here. If you have a smudge on here, you can dab it. So you need at least 2 paper towels at your desk, and maybe some Kleenex. Brushes, you want to have all different kinds. You need a wide one for washing, and little fine ones for later on for detail. Okay. And markers, those come in handy when you're doing cartooning. So you put a wash, you let it dry, and then you can use markers and go around it. And I did that in my book, Sammy Swan. That's like a cartoon. So you put a wash, and then all the other details come in with different markers. So you can decide if it's all black marker. Kids were experimenting at school with colors. So that's a whole other lesson. Okay. Other things you can have is a toothbrush, because when you want to dab it into the paint and then spritz it onto your paper, that's another texture technique. Or you can go right onto your palette and like this, and then go right onto the paper, which I'll show you. Okay, so let's start. So my picture is kind of like see the dark brown and the light brown, and we have white spots. So I'm going to mix some brown here. So there's brown. I'm just going to take some, and I'm going to put it in the lid. See that? That works pretty good. And then depending on you can get really cheap watercolors at the dollar store, and that's just as good. Now you add lots of water. So you want to make a wash. And the more water you add, the washier it gets. So you want to start really washy, because then you can add on. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of a wash here. And a lot of people, when they're doing this professionally or in their art studios, have a hair dryer, and it speeds it up a little. Or you just take a like a fan or a piece of paper, not a big fan like a blowing fan, but like a piece of paper. And so I'll do this because I'm trying to speed this up a little. Okay, I'll show you this in 1 second. There. Okay, just for starters. So it's just really washy. Okay, you can see through it. That's watercolor. Okay, and it doesn't take a long time either. And then yellow for eyes. Let's go. Those are really bright yellow eyes. My husband's probably downstairs wondering why I'm talking to myself. Now, I don't want to lift this. So when you're in the classroom, you don't want to go, hey, because your paint's going to run. It's water. So you need to, I'm just going to do this to speed it up. So once this is dry, then you can start adding thicker paint. I'm going to pick a skinny brush. You can't rush watercolors either. So you have to start in stages. First you do your drawing, then you do your wash, and then you start adding your details. Oh, and I just noticed, the more you look at your picture, you see things. So I'm just